And today I'm going to share the interview question regarding the React JS. And let's start for that. First of all, we have to know what is the React JS. So React JS is a JavaScript library used for the building UI, and it allows developer to create the reusable component and efficiently update the UI when the data changes. As I can show you, here we have a app.jsx file. This is our React project, I can say, and we have this app.jsx file. It is nothing but, I can say, extension of that JavaScript, JSX JavaScript with the XML, and it is converting again with the help of Babel to JavaScript again. So yeah, I'm telling like what is the React.js. So it is a component base. I can see if I have a menu, header, footer, like that component, like that pages, I can say. So I don't have to be create all the stuff in the one single page. I can create one folder like component and create the header, footer, all the stuff here, and just add in this app file. I can say in this project you can say we have this title, category, and menu. So for this coding, for these pages we have a coding, but we are not adding in this single pages. We are adding this title component here and write the coding separately for that, then separately for this category, and similarly for the menu, similarly for the menu item. So all these pages we are creating separately, and whenever we have a requirement we just add to all that. So I can say in our app.js file we can add these items or these pages or this component, I can say. So that's why you can see we are not writing whole coded here, we are just adding this component, title, category, menu, and basis on that we are also importing that file here from the location. So that is the use of the, I can say, that is the main advantage of the React.js, using the component, I can say, reusability of the component. So your code become cleaner and shorter in a single page. If you have to multiple, it is useful for the widely application. And if you have multiple pages, 50, 30 pages, so we are not adding all the 50, 30 pages in a one single page. We have right to different component or different pages, and have to be included in one of the sample file, one of the app.js file, or main JS file. So it is like better for understanding code reusability. Second question have what are the key feature of React.js? So as I mentioned, the React.js offer the features like virtual DOM, component-based architecture, one-way data flow, JSX syntax, and rich ecosystem of libraries and tools. So virtual DOM, it means not actually we are having to go with this DOM. We are having a created a virtual DOM. So you don't have to be like create a different server and run the component over there. It is not like that. Second, component base I already discussed. We have to create the multiple pages as a component and have to be structured in a one app.js file, or whenever you have a requirement you can just add the component nested to one single file. One way data flow, I can say, in the Angular we have a two-way data binding, one way data binding, some of the requirement, but here we have only one way data binding or one way data flow. It means how can we write? I just show you example. For the example I have what I can say, just give me an example. Yeah, you can see this filter item, we are creating this filter item, one of the functions. Okay, and we are passing as a property here filter item equal to this filter item. So this curly braces in this filter item means we have a one way data flow. Because of that we don't have to take too much time. Next question we have a what is a JSX? It is an extension of the JavaScript file, I can say, and it allows you to write the HTML like syntax with the JavaScript code, and it is used to describe the structure and appearance of the React component or React component. Sorry. So it means if you have aware about that like HTML tag, but if you are already aware about the XML, that is what we writing in the XML, we are writing like this A, B, C. For the example, we have a this tag in the XML, and we have a like HTML tag. I can say input type equal to text. Okay, so we are combining this HTML with the XML. That's why we are telling like .js extension is means JavaScript with the XML. Okay, so it is a, as I said, extension of the JavaScript that allow you to write the HTML like syntax with the JavaScript code, and it is used to describe the structure and the appearance of the React component. Next question we have, what is the significance of the virtual DOM in React.js? So the virtual DOM is lightweight copy of the actual DOM. It is, I already told, like it is not a, we have a separate server to creating all the virtual DOM. As the name suggests, it is imaginary virtual DOM which we have to be running our application, React application over that is getting a copy of that. And React uses this virtual DOM to optimize and speed up the process of the updating the real DOM by comparing the current virtual DOM with the previous one. Next question we have, what is the difference between the functional component and class component in React.js? Functional components are stateless and are typically written as a plain JavaScript functions, and they are simpler and easier to test. Class component, on the other hand, have a state, can use a lifecycle method, and written as a ES6 classes. I will give you the example of that both a class component and a functional component in my project also. That will be better understood. And next we have, what is the purpose of constructor in a React component? So it is not like only React component. If you are already working on the backend part, you are writing any code, you have a constructor of that class. So what is the constructor do? Constructor do means in instance of you when you are creating for the class, that time constructor is invoked. Similarly, we also say that constructor is used to initialize the state and bind event hands in a class component, and it is called before the component is mounted. Similarly, before executing or a final execution, when instance is created, then constructor is called in our C sharp in our Java. Similarly, here we also have a constructor used to initialize the state and bind event handle in a class component, and it is called before the component is mounted. And there is a mounted technique, like I can say mounted init, mounted with, mounted did, mounted like instance creation, I can say. What is a state in React.js? Next question. And I can say state is an object that holds the data and determine how a component render and behave. It is private and fully controlled by the component itself. As the name suggests, state is like we have a certain position, we are transferring from that one to another position, from like 0 to 1 we are transferring the value. So that similar condition we are also understanding here state also. We have a use state. I can give the example over there. We have, I can give example like const, and for that we also have to be import. Okay. So you can see we have a state. So for that we are using the use state hooks, and for this we are taking the example of the menu item. So we are taking the like menu item. I have like one of the, I can say ABC, and we are setting that menu item with the help of the set menu item. And when we are writing again some code, we can use or we can create the set menu item function and write our logic over there. So yeah, as name suggests, we are using a state for going one state to another state or one place to another place. Data determine how a component render and behave. It is privately and fully controlled by the component itself. Okay, next question we have, what is the difference between the state and props in React.js? If you are already work on the Angular, you know like we have a transferring the value from parent to child, child to parent, like that. So similarly, we are also having a transfer the data from one component to another component. For that purpose, we are using the props. So you can see here, state is managed within a component and can be changed, while props are passed to a component from its parents and cannot be modified directly by the component receiving them. For the state, you are doing all the stuff like I created this method. You can see state menu item. I can create the whole functional in component itself. When we come to the props, it is not like that. We have to go on that other like I use this use state items where I use in the menu item. I can go here and I can write all the stuff, all the code over there. You can see menu item like that. So you can understand single word. We are transferring the data from one to another component. That time you can use the props. And when we have to when we have to modify the value in a single one, so you can go with the state one. Next question we have what is the difference between the state that is completed. Next question we have what is a controlled component. As the name suggests, control component is a component where the form data is handled by the React component, and the React component that render the form also control what happens. React component render the forms and also control like what happened, what is the functional behavior over there, what is the causes of that when you are clicking some event over there in the form itself or the subsequent user input also. So that is handled in the control component. Next question we have what are the React lifecycle method. React lifecycle method are special method and that are called at a specific point in a component lifecycle. This method include the component did mount. As I told before, like before this question, there is one question like what is a mount. So that mount we are using in this real life application. Real life application, I can say life cycle of that React. So this component did mount, component did update, component will mount, unmount, and many others. So that is the React life cycle. Next question we have what is the significance of the render method in React.js? The render method is a React.js responsible for returning the JSX that represent the structure and appearance of a component. Before the React also, when we are creating any function, when we have to be transferring or we have to return some pages over there in the ASP or ASP.NMVC form, we are returning a value. So that returning things we are returning things means we are rendering something, component or anything like that. So here also we are aiming the same definition. It is responsible for returning the JSX because we are using the JSX in the React that represents the structure and the appearance of a component, and it gets called whenever the component update. It is like returning the value. I passing the value from one to another one. Like I'm getting the name value, then I'm getting the age value, then I'm getting the address value. So when we are adding the value or searching the data, basis on that input, the data will get reflected, and that time this pages or that component will be a renders. That's why this render method in React. This is important. Next question, what is the purpose of keys in the React list? Key are used to give a unique identity in each element in a list of components. Either it is a React or C Sharp or Java. In the C Sharp, here we are using the for each loop. Every time we are using item key, item value. Similarly, here also we are using this unique identity to each element of a list of components, and that help React efficiently update and re-render the component by identifying which item has changed, been added or removed. Sometimes we are deleting the value, sometimes we are updating the value. So basis on that key value, we are knowing that item will get deleted when we are maintaining the history in our database. Next question, what is the context in React.js? Context provide a way to pass data through the component tree without having to pass props manually at every label. We already discussed like what is the props. Props is basically used for transferring the data from one to another component. Then there is another technique is coming here, context. Context is also using to pass the data from one component to another. Not like exactly I can say props, but that is also used for the sharing the data and consider data as a global for a tree of React component. Next question, what are the higher order component in React.js? HOC is a function that take a component and return a new component with additional functionality. They are used for code reuse, abstraction, and sharing common logic between the component. I can say real-time example, we having like some component and have to be authenticate. So that authenticate component we can use as a higher order component for checking each component. Like I created a component for the admin, for the user, for the managerial. I have to be verified that page or that component we are going to display. So we are applying the authentication technique over there. So for that we can go each and every pages. So on that we can say like we have a HOC that is used for the sharing the common logic between the component. Next question we have what is the React hooks? Hooks are functions that allow you to use state and other React features without writing a class. It is like packages. Like in the .NET, we are including some packages like Serilog, some .NET Core SQL tools or designs from this NuGet package we are installing and we are using that classes or the like inbuilt method over there. Similarly, in this hooks also, we having some features which we can utilize without writing a whole class and features and all that stuff. Next question, what is the basic rules of hooks? So hooks have some rules. They must be used only at the top level of the function. Component hooks must be called in same order every time the component rendered. and they cannot be called conditionally. As I already told in these pages, you can see we are using the hooks. Then next question we have, what is the use state hook used for? Use state hook is used to add state to functional component. It returns a stateful value and functional to update that value. Stateful means we are having to maintain the state when we are transferring from one to another one. Stateless means it doesn't require to hold a value, but stateful means we have to be use that value from one to another subsequent request. So that's why we are using the use state, I can say. By calling the update function, the component can trigger a re-render with the update state. Next question have what is the use effect hook used for? Similarly, when we are using a use state, similarly we have a use effect hook, and it is used to perform the side effect in functional component, and it allows you to run code after the component has rendered and handle the actions such as the data fetching, subscription, or manually updating the DOM. Next question we have what is the difference between the use callback, use memo. This use state, use effect, use callback, use memo, these all comes under the life cycle of the React. And for this question, we having a difference. So use callback is used to memorize the function, preventing unnecessary recreation of the function on re-renders, and use memo is used to memorize value, catching the result of the expensive calculation and avoid the recomputation. So these both technique or both hooks is essentially useful for the speeding of our code. Because of this functionality, this feature, our code run faster when we are applying these hooks in our component level. What is a React router? React router, as a name suggests, router is like populating or navigating the URL value when we are transferring the one page to another page, when we are specifying path for a particular location, when we have to be travel from this pages to this pages. That means we have a router. So React Router is also a similar way popular library for handling the router in React application, and it allows you to define the different routes render component based on the current URL and navigate between the different views in a single page application. So that is the basic definition, basic idea about the React Router. So this 20 important questions which is asked many times in front end, and I think you got some information from these questions and this video. And if you have any doubt, any query from my side, please comment it down. I will try to help on that. Thank you.